I think people nowadays are quick to label films as great or amazing when the films they watch are just good or just okay. There are distinct differences between them. Even a great film critic like Roger Ebert has his standards for great films. Many people's standards can vary significantly. One standard can be to have this or that or something else and many more. Meanwhile, mine are simpler. And no matter what differences the great films might have, these same characteristics always appear in all of them. So what are these characteristics of great films? Perhaps great stories, amazing acting, well-written script, great directing, editing, cinematography, sound. Well, it's much simpler than those characteristics, and they all are the main focus in Tsai Ming-liang's 2003 film Goodbye Dragon Inn. In it, not only does the film have these characteristics, but it also becomes the main focus. So let's dissect Goodbye Dragon Inn and find these characteristics and why this film is the standard for great films. The story of Goodbye Dragon Inn takes place on the last day of an old Taipei cinema that is showing the film Dragon Inn, the 1967 film by King Hu. Goodbye Dragon Inn is an excellent dive into the state of traditional cinema in the face of the modern age. This is achieved by showing us most of the cinema itself, the theater, hallways, etc., therefore making the old cinema the main character. Meanwhile, the actual people in the film evolve, becoming a place where the emotions of the cinema show. From them, we learn that those who care for the cinema can do nothing. They have either accepted or lamented that this old cinema is moving from the place they used to love to a monument for the good old times. Not only that, the film gives us a contrast between the traditional preconceived notion of how a cinema usually is, a place for families, friends, and individuals to enjoy and watch films, and the current state of the old cinema, seeing the place now as just a hollow building, which helped to amplify the sadness even more. What's great about this film is that it manages to do all that in just 81 minutes, which brings me to the first characteristic, length. It is not that great films should be shorter or perfectly at 81 minutes, but more about how the film uses its length to its fullest potential. Goodbye Dragon Inn effectively fleshes out the star of the film and the surrounding characters, which strengthens the core of the story without adding unnecessary minutes to it. While most films need to cut the length of their runtime, all great films always justify their length, either from how the film developed the characters, the narrative of the film, the world building, the pacing, or the theme of the film. The second characteristic is more about how Goodbye Dragon Inn built the story. The film understands why certain things shouldn't be said, it should be seen. Not only does it help to draw more attention to the film, but it also gives more power to the meaning behind the action. For example, throughout the film, there are very few scenes where any conversation takes place. This simple act of limiting the conversation reflects the careful intent that the script has, making the rare conversation people have in the film hold more significance and power, which they did. Like this scene near the end of the film. In this scene, there are two old men talking in the entrance of the cinema, which is played by the two real actors from the Dragon Inn film, by the way. After being engulfed in the silence for so long, the audience finally hears a simple conversation.
也没人记得。
But although simple, the conversation they have about how these old people are saddened by the closing of the cinema helps to understand the point of the film, which symbolizes the decline of traditional cinema. We can see the same purpose being used in these scenes of other great films. They juxtapose it in stuff, helping to entrust the meaning of the pictures being shown instead relying on more dialogues. The last point is something that has already been talked about in this video but hasn't been specified specifically. Question everything. Great films always make the audience question them, not because we don't understand what is happening, but more of what great films do that invoke discussions from people who watch them. So by questioning the film, we understand the weight of the choices that the film has made and how those choices are responsible for the film's theme and purpose. In Goodbye Dragon Inn, the show don't tell part of the film sparks a discussion on why the film uses it and why certain dialogues are used instead of the prevailing silence. From this, Tsai Ming-liang's choices align with the film's intended message, which is to visualize the melancholy of the dying old cinema.
事实上，这个电影院在当时我年轻的时候，然后当它没落的时候，也是全球的概念一起在没落，然后一起在消失。所以有很多的电影的经验，就是从这种电影院里面累积发生的，是很多人的记忆都有这个电影院啊，所以我想我可能拍的是我自己的记忆，很重要的生命的记忆。但同时，我相信我也拍了大部分那个年代人的一些共同的经验。
That's all, folks.
Well, that's it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like this content. I've made other similar videos, so check my channel. Thank you and have a great day.